Hello YouTube, this is NatanisLikens, and this is part 6 of our beginner's guide for Back for Blood. Now, in today's episode, we are going to get into a little bit of gameplay and some of the mechanics, so hopefully I will be able to capture some clips and share them with you guys as far as some of the mechanics that I have sort of gone over and not talked a whole lot about. We've just kind of mentioned them, and I wasn't able to show you guys because we weren't actually inside of a match. First and foremost, before we get there, I am going to be using Talia to demonstrate some of these, especially considering the deck that I have built for her demonstrates a few of these quite well, some not as much. First and foremost, we're going to start off here in the range, and as you can see with my targeting reticule there in the center of the screen, it is fairly small. However, it's not as small as it possibly could be. And on top of that, if we come over here to this dummy and just shoot one arrow, you can see that I did 32 damage to it. Now, this is with the starting bow, the bare bones basic. There are no mods on it, as I mentioned in the weapons video. They left out the mods in the range for all the melee weapons that also work with the bow. So we come over here to the bow, you can see that the base form has 80 attack power, which is pretty nice. It is one of the stronger weapons that do not require ammo. The range of it is 100 meters, so it's comparable to most of the sniper rifles in the form of how far it can shoot. The base accuracy of it is 75. Again, the accuracy is how big your targeting reticule is when firing from the hip, which this base attack right here does count as. Then you have handling and mobility. Mobility is basically just your ability to move while firing. As far as handling is more about swapping weapons. And as you can see, the swapping of weapons here is not too bad. It's fairly standard, but it can be a little bit faster. Now, the other thing I would like to show you is that this does have an aim down the sights. And if we hold this and then pull back on the bow and do that, you can see that we're doing about 122 damage, whereas firing from the hip, we're only doing about 32. Now that is a body shot if we actually target the weak spot. It is very hard for me to be able to catch that. It looks like it's about 66 damage. And again, if we do the aim shot, it's about 226. So the aim shot is definitely much higher, while the shooting from the hip is much faster with a much lower damage. Now the thing about that is I do want you to pay attention to just how fast I'm actually shooting arrows off. It seems pretty nice. However, in harder difficulties such as Nightmare, where we are going, that is not very fast at all. So let's go over the deck that I'm going to be using for this. This deck is custom built. It is not a cookie cutter one. This is something I slapped together and have been tweaking as I play and figure out exactly, what works, what doesn't work, what I need to add in, things that I feel like I'm missing. And again, because there's only a 15 card limit, it is kind of hard to balance out what cards you feel like you need versus what cards you should use based on your chosen weapon with said character. The main reason we are going with Talia is, if you remember from when I covered the characters, she does come equipped with something similar to the Shred card, wherein each bullet, note I said bullet, hit causes the target to take 1% increased damage for 3 seconds. And actually, they've changed that. That is no longer the same. The Shred used to cause bleed damage. I did not realize that they changed that. Anyway, yeah, so any of her attacks will cause the target of her attacks to bleed. So they are going to slowly lose life, basically. Anyway, let's go over some of the cards and why they're in here. Slugger. Slugger is one of only 2 cards in the entire game that affect your bow as far as how you use it. So we are going to get a 5% health increase there at the top. This does mean that we can potentially use melee weapons, though considering this is not a melee deck, we're not going to be able to use melee weapons as effectively as a real melee build, because you will see that we have melee stamina efficiency. Basically, that affects how much stamina you are using when you attack with a melee weapon. And then if you look 2 down from that, we have 10% bow stamina efficiency, same kind of deal. And then the other two are attack speed, both of which are 20% for the melee weapon and the bow. So that is actually going to increase how fast we are firing arrows when we are firing them from the hip. Brazen is pretty similar, only slightly different stats. As you can see, the stamina efficiency is 15% as opposed to 10, and the attack speed is also 20% on this one. These are, again, the only two bow cards that we have in the game right now. So if you plan on running a bow, you absolutely have to have these cards. Anything else is up to personal choice, though I will tell you anything that has to do with specific damage types, such as bullet, is not going to work with the bow, along with if it specifically says melee. They are not going to work with the bow. So yes, these are the only two cards that work in tandem with the bow. There are others that are like general purpose things. They work with any kind of weapon. You can use those, but again, if it specifically says melee or bullet, it is not going to work with the bow. Up next, we have adrenaline fueled. When you kill an enemy, gain 5 stamina instantly and an additional 7 stamina over 7 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Okay, the reason this is in here is, much like using a melee weapon, you will eventually run out of stamina. Excuse me. So this, during horde fights and any other fights, means that we are effectively not going to run out of stamina while we are using the bow. It just constantly refreshes our stamina. So you really don't have to worry about stamina when attacking with the bow. Okay, Weapon Scavenger. So Weapon Scavenger, you can find and sense nearby weapons, and more weapons spawn on the maps. The Scavenger cards are very important, and depending on what you are playing, I would say you need to run at least 1 or 2 of these in your deck. Preferably Weapon Scavenger or Ammo Scavenger. I will say that between the team members, these cards do not stack. So really, if all 4 people are running Weapon Scavenger, there's not going to be a ton of weapons throughout the map. However, I cannot confirm that. So take that as you will. If I am wrong, please leave a comment down below informing me that this does indeed stack. But as far as I'm aware, it does not stack. Okay. Shooting gloves. We get 25% weapon swap speed, so that's just going to make it faster when we switch from our bow to whatever primary weapon we have. Quite often when I play this deck, I don't even worry about that. The real thing I'm after here is the 15% accuracy down at the bottom. The 15% recoil control is also nice. I typically run this deck with a assault rifle as my primary weapon. That way, in really intense fights, I actually have a weapon that is going to attack and kill things a lot faster than the bow. But again, the main reason this card is actually in there is for the accuracy. The swap speed is also a nice bonus. Then we have Optics Enthusiasts. This gives you an extra 30% accuracy. That's really all it does. There are some other cards for that, but because they have downsides to it, I don't use them. This one works well enough, and the main reason we have this is for our hip firing. Again, that is going to affect the reticule right here, or the crosshairs, while we are firing from the hip. So right now, the accuracy of it is pretty decent, but when we get in games, you'll see that that crosshair is completely closed up, and meaning that all we gotta do is put it underneath the crosshair completely and we'll hit it guaranteed. Right now it is kind of small, so trying to hit things is really just dependent on the distance from it. And again, because it is a bow, there is an arc to the shots. I've played quite a bit of Skyrim, so I'm kind of used to using a bow, and very happy that they have it in Back 4 Blood. Continuing on with our deck, though. So next we have Cross Trainers. This gives you an extra 20% stamina, 20% stamina regen, 3% move, and an extra 5 health. So that means starting off in a match, minus the 5% health here. We're not going to worry about that. This means that I'm going to start off with 105 health as opposed to just 100. The other 5% up here, off the top of my head, I don't know what that's going to be. I believe that's probably going to put me at about 110 health right off the bat. The 3% move speed, not a huge amount, but considering there's very little move speed cards that also give you stamina and stamina regen, this is probably one of the better stamina cards in the entire collection of cards. Very few give you stamina, stamina regen, and move speed, and I do believe this is the only one that has all those stats. While there are others, some of the benefits of those cards are outweighed by the debuff of them. Ridden Slayer. This gives me an extra 20% weak spot damage. It has no drawbacks. There are higher cards that have drawbacks, such as one that gives you 30%, but it decreases your damage resistance. We're really not worried about how much damage we're actually doing to an extent. I put this one in here because we do need a little bit more damage. Unfortunately, this does not apply to regular Ridden. This only applies to mutations. Regular Ridden really doesn't matter. You're pretty much going to one-shot them regardless of what weapon you have. Knowledge is power. Let's get back up on this. An extra 10% of weak spot damage. Again, we get a little bit more, so that gives us 30% total on weak spot damage. Not that much, but it's helpful. The main reason I have this is its other benefit. Allows players to see values for damage they deal and enemy health bars. The enemy health bar really, it's one of those things that either you really want it or you really don't need it. My personal opinion on that is, for most of the gameplay, you don't need it. However, for dealing with bosses, it's very handy in knowing just how much health the boss still has. Breakout. Yeah, Breakout. This is one of those cards where I think it's a staple and really, really should be in everybody's deck. Basically, if you get grabbed, this allows you to get out of the grab. And grabs come in several different types. You can be grabbed by lurkers. You can be grabbed by crushers. You can be grabbed by sleepers. And it also helps you get out of Hawker's goo that they spit out and just traps you. This also allows you to get out of certain traps in the game. Specifically bear traps, but do not hold that to me. I'm not 100% sure if another person can get you out of a bear trap, or if you get the ability to get out of a bear trap regardless. Either way, this is one of those cards that I just think is absolutely useful. Fresh Bandage. Again, this is a card for higher levels of difficulty that I think should be in every single deck. Because at the start of each level, recover 15 trauma damage and recover any missing health. So if I go in there and I have, let's say, 75 health, so 15 of it is trauma damage, which makes up the 90 health. So this will give me back to having a full 90 health, and then the missing health will be recovered, so I heal up completely to that point. trauma is a very big deal in later difficulties, so do think of ways around trauma and dealing with trauma, because it is a game killer later on, especially if you're wandering around early on with only 45 health. It doesn't take much to kill you, so trauma is very important. Durable, we get 15% trauma resistance. Again, trauma is a big deal. An extra 10 health, so now we're up to 115 health total before the 5% increase. And then we get 20% fire resistance. There is another trauma card that is a flat 20% trauma resistance. However, because this one has 5% less and it also gives me health and fire resistance, I kind of prefer this one over that. Okay, down in front. While crouched, you neither take nor deal friendly fire damage, plus 10 health. Okay, friendly fire damage is something you cannot turn off. I think only on recruit there is no friendly fire damage at all. This is a card that I tried to work into almost every deck, though some of the decks there's just simply not enough room to work it in, because this is very, very important. I cannot tell you the amount of times I've actually downed my own teammates because they got in front of me while I was using a shotgun and boom, they're down. Yeah, there's a lot of non-coordination between teams, so it's very easy to step into somebody else's line of fire. It is one of the big killers, is killing off your own team members. Again, there is friendly fire in this game, so be aware of that. And if you're worried about friendly fire, I really do suggest this card, though remember, it only works if you are crouching. Hunker down. Now, because we do have the crouching ability and we are primarily using bows, there is times where you are going to have ridden and mutations right up in your face, so this card comes in handy there. While crouching, you gain 10% damage resistance and an extra 40% accuracy. Okay, so our accuracy is already going to be pretty high when firing from the hip, and when we're crouching down, it's going to be pretty much, you can't miss unless you're just that bad of a shot. Utility Scavenger. This 15th card is something I've been swapping in and out based on figuring out what actually works. Utility Scavenger just makes it to where more quick accessory items spawn on the map. Quick accessory items are toolkits, ammo pouches, stun guns, defibrillators, and even the legendary toolkit. The legendary toolkit is something I would say stay away from. It does have a chance to kill its user. Yeah, it is a permanent item too, so as long as you have it, you always have a toolkit, but considering that you have a chance to instantly die from using it, I would say just stick with using toolkits, just regular toolkits, because nothing could be worse than losing a team member at a critical moment in the game. Now, if somebody else has defibrillators, that's fine. Though generally speaking, I see a lot of people do not carry defibrillators. I've actually gotten out of the habit of it myself, even on my medical deck, and that is because a lot of people forget to grab toolkits. So I've gotten in the habit of grabbing toolkits on pretty much every character I play. Unfortunately, on this build, we do not have extra carry space for quick accessories, support items, or offensive items, so we are heavily dependent on the team upgrades. But yeah, so that's that, and without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start a new match, and then I'll come back to you guys and show you the difference in the crosshair when I get into a match. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got a new match started, and it looks like we actually have another player, unfortunately. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick Talia. So that is the character select, it's simple as that. Now, it shows us all of our possible decks that we have built. I'm going to go ahead and grab my bow build for Talia. and we are going to lock in. It looks like the other player is locked in as Walker. Here is the corruption cards. This is where you see all the possible corruption cards and all the variants of it. One thing that is important is there is always a secondary objective card, and this will tell you exactly what you need to do in order to earn an extra 50 copper for that particular match. Okay, so Biohazard I've never actually seen before, or bothered to read it. Ridden deal an extra 25% damage. And you get 3 temporary health for kills and 100% team bolstered health. Okay, that's that. Ferocious, this basically means that they are more likely to run. And no, these take more damage. Festering, oh great. Festering right off the bat. Festering are the type that take extra damage to kill. Armored Urchins means that their weak spot's going to be covered in armored. Pus Flingers, oh great. So these guys fling the liquid from exploders at you, which causes slow and attracts ridden to you. And then Armored Crushers. Again, armored, same thing as the Urchins. That means that their weak spot is going to be covered by armor, and you have to knock off the armor before then. Okay, so burn cards. This is where we use a burn card, and there is some ups and downs to it. We can use any of the burn cards possible. I'm going to go ahead and use Group Hug. This gives the entire team 1 extra life. Unfortunately, once you pick a card, you cannot change this. It is going to be that card regardless. So let's go ahead, let's get in here. Now, because I have the weapon scavenger card, there is, on most stages, going to be free weapons at the safe room. On most stages, not all of them. Over here, we have the shop, and as you can see, we have the team upgrades here. Unfortunately, starting off, you don't have enough copper to actually buy any of the team upgrades. And it looks like we have offensive slots, so this will give us 1 extra offensive slot. Team Quick Item Upgrade, which upgrades the quality level of our quick item. As you can see here, we actually have 2 examples of quality level. We have the uncommon and the rare here, and this is specific for weapons. Over here we have them for melee and the bow. I am trying to rush a little bit because our team member has already opened the door, and the shop will actually lock after a certain amount of time if the door is already opened. So yeah, keep that in mind. As far as the accessories go, it's generally good practice to avoid using the attachments. Hang on 1 second. Let's mute that. It's generally a good practice to just avoid buying attachments in the shop, though I will say on occasion, if you have an attachment that you've been looking for and you have been able to find, go ahead and grab it. But yeah, that's that, and I'll get back to you guys with other examples. I might have to leave this group because I wasn't expecting team members. Alright, so we got another one going, and we do get to see a few different cards. So first off is the Infected Ridden Troopers. So basically these are going to be armored guys that we have to shoot off the helmet and then headshot them in order to kill them. Body shots simply will do nothing. Armored Exploders, again, their weak spot will be covered up by armor. Lobbers. Unfortunately, these are really super annoying. We do not have as many corruption cards this time. That is kind of odd. Break time. Health set to 60. You regenerate 10 health per second, 100% trauma resistance, so you don't have to worry about trauma. You're always going to have 60 health on this stage, and you get 2 extra lives, so you can be down twice. However, you do have 150% in-cap bleed out damage, so you are going to bleed out fairly quickly on that. Silence is golden. This is one of the things I was talking about with hordes that I was saying, please do not do things that summon the hordes. This is one of the bonus objectives. Anything that triggers a horde, such as birds, snitches, car alarms, alarm doors, or dusters? I don't know what a duster is. Anyway, if you trigger an extra horde for any reason, you lose this bonus. We lose, as a team, the 500 copper. And the bonus supply points, but we aren't too concerned with supply points. If you're playing in a harder stage, you shouldn't have to worry about that at all. Now, some things that I wasn't able to bring up because we had a team member that decided to just charge into everything is first and foremost my targeting. You'll see when I am crouched with a base weapon.
Do you copy?
Up to our necks in it, but still kicking. Over.
Need all cleaners back at the Ville. Pronto.
I should probably turn off the sounds for all this.
Hook one out.
Time to get moving.
Okay, you will see that my targeting reticule is actually a little bit smaller than when I am naturally standing. Not to mention the 2 bow cards we have means that I am going to be firing arrows from the hip very, very fast. You'll notice my targeting reticule is not even moving that fast. We are going to go ahead and do this. I thought maybe we could get away with the sound being up, but apparently not. It's going to be too loud to try and talk over. So again, if you missed that, we actually are starting off with 1,000 copper this time. That is because the copper is split amongst the team. You'll remember that when we did the other one, we had another player join us at the very beginning, which meant that we only had 500 copper. Now with me alone, we have 1,000 copper. We can actually afford the team upgrades. And the base team upgrades are team health, team ammo, and team stamina. And these cards will be something that is in play permanently, and you can buy multiple of these throughout the act. The team support, or the team slot cards, I do believe these stack up to 4 times, along with the item quality upgrades. These also, I believe, stack up to 3 times. So you have to buy 3 of these in order to max out any given item slot as far as the quality of it, and 4 times for this to max out how many you can actually carry. Unfortunately, we don't have enough copper to buy either one of these. At the top here, we have health on the far left. Then we have armor here. You can buy 4 things of armor per level. That is going to cost you 100 copper per. Then you also have ammo, and I believe it's 100 ammo for 50 copper. I'm not entirely sure about that. And then you can see down here the prices of all the different items. The cost of the items does not change at all. And as you can see, when I was saying that the one card gives you only 150 copper, yeah, most of these, like, you can buy a few of these with that 150 copper, but some of the better items you can't even begin to afford with only 150 copper. So yeah, that 150 for everybody on the team really doesn't mean jack. So that's something that if you feel like burning that card, just go ahead and do it. Let me get on and get through this level, and hopefully we can show you an example of the armored door, or the alarmed door, not the armored door, the alarmed door, and other examples as we go about. Okay, here's our first example of something that I could not show you in Fort Hope. This is one of the boxes that the cards come in, and this is the type of card that you can put in your deck. And these are completely random. They're throughout the world. I believe there are 3 per level approximately, and it also depends on the level. And as I said, the card inside is always random. In this particular instance, we got Overwatch as the card that is there. Again, that is something that I could not show you inside of Fort Hope. And let's continue on, and I'll hopefully bring you back to show you guys a few other items. Okay, yeah, here we go. Our first weapon that we found. This is a common weapon, but as you can see, it has 3 uncommon attachments on it. And if you see right there beside the star, it says that it has 11 levels on it. So it is actually 6 levels above our starting weapon that we got down in the safe room. And again, this is a good example of the quality of items. Hopefully we can, a little bit later, show you an uncommon weapon that hopefully has similar stats on it. I hear something coming. Okay, right here, as I stated in the card videos, is the random basic cards. These are either health, stamina, ammo capacity, or copper upon starting the next level. They are completely random. You never know which one you're going to get. And this time around, we got health. So yeah, that's what those look like, and that's how they function. Alright, in the very next room, we got two examples of things that I need to show you. First off is the point at which on almost every map you are forced to summon a horde. So right now, as you can see, I have a toolkit there that is number 5 over there on the right side of the screen above my weapons. And if I walk up to this, I have the option to just lower the bridge or use my toolkit on it. If I just lower it using E, it will summon the horde. However, if I use the toolkit on it, no horde was summoned. Now, I do know that there is another toolkit right over there. We are going to go ahead and grab that because there is another item right here. I was not expecting this to be this early. And that is a warped chest. Now, these things, again, same kind of deal. You can just flat out open them or open them with a toolkit. I personally hate it when people flat out open these because it gives you a random debuff. And depending on what the debuff is, it is very harmful to your playthrough. Some of them are actually worse than other. Like, for example, if I'm playing a melee build or my bow build, getting the stamina debuff is really going to hurt my ability to contribute to the team in any sort of fashion. We do have this extra toolkit. We are going to use it on this just to show you the possible drops that can come out of this. In a hive, there's actually more drops that will come out. But on a regular map, it's going to be a little bit fewer of items, especially with players. So first and foremost, we do get another random basic card. We got a sight on this one, and this is one of those legendary things that I was talking about, where it is a named item, but instead of being the orange-yellow color, it is blue. I don't know why they included that. I don't know why all the legendaries can either be blue or that orange color, but that is one of those, and as you can see, it does have a negative on the stumble damage. And then over here, oh, we got another blue weapon. This is the Desert Eagle that I was talking about, where any kills you get generates copper per kill, up to a maximum of 1,250 extra copper per level. It is something I do highly suggest using if you come across it and you are playing a copper economy deck. The fire rate of it is kind of slow and the reload is kind of slow. However, it will just add to the copper economy and help your team out as you're able to buy upgrades. And then over here we have the legendary taser. This will work as the normal taser, and it does have 3 charges with it. So you can use this thing a maximum of 3 times before you lose it. We are just going to go ahead and take that. The gold pipe bomb. So the gold pipe bomb works exactly like the pipe bomb, except that it generates copper based on the amount of kills it gets. Yep. It is probably one of my favorite legendaries, and it is very simple. So we are going to go ahead and grab that. That does mean, unfortunately, I do not have a toolkit for the next thing that I'm going to show you. It's fairly close by, so I am going to bring you guys back almost immediately. Okay, we got another thing here I wasn't expecting so early. We have Jeff's favorite whistle. This is a legendary item, and as far as I know, it is unique to Tala. In other words, it's not going to be on the map anywhere unless Tala is present, to my knowledge. This is very handy. It will summon Jeff. It is a permanent item, and you do not lose it upon use. With that being said, it does have a cooldown for every time that you can summon Jeff. I'm not sure what that cooldown is. Now over here we also have a snitcher that I was talking about. And these guys are very annoying, and considering that we're very early in the game, it's almost impossible to one-shot that. And then around the corner over here, hopefully there isn't. Yep, there is a sleeper right there. That is pretty typical spot for a sleeper to be if you got sleepers on your map. Here we have a stash room. Stash rooms usually have a bunch of good stuff. Now, because I do have the weapon scavenger card, we can see that there is a bear trap, and I'm not sure which weapon that is. It's either the M16 or a M4 carbine. I can't exactly tell from this angle. It does look like it's potentially an M16. I don't know why one of the guys died. We did have a player join us, unfortunately. The stash room, for the most part, on levels is either guaranteed spawn in one particular place, or it has multiple spots that it can spawn. And this bounces between 2 and 4 spots that it can potentially be on any given stage. Again, on certain stages, it's always in the same spot. For example, this is stage 1 of Act 1. It is always going to be right here. Okay, so like I was saying about hordes and examples of being forced to summon an extra horde, what you can see in front of me is a security door. This is the only way into the next section of this particular map, and unfortunately I'm going to have to open it, which means it is going to summon a horde. I don't have much of a choice unless I use my toolkit. Now, if one of these bots was actually a player, they could use a toolkit. So you can see it on the left side of the screen, what each player has equipped in what slot. The thing that looks like a pair of pliers is a toolkit. And anybody could potentially just open the door with a toolkit without setting off the alarm. However, I am trying to save my toolkit, and I can't actually take it from the other characters. Now, one of the things that I should note is occasionally Ridden will glitch through these doors. That is something that has definitely changed since the last time I played this game. And the other thing is they don't seem to be able to destroy these anymore unless a horde has already been summoned. Now, in the top right corner, you're going to see that there is a skull with a orange circle that is slowly filling up. That is one of the wandering hordes. I don't know which one we got in this. Okay, huge hordes of reekers, reachers, and exploders, wretches, and exploders will attack on a timer. So once that timer fills up, a horde is going to spawn. There's nothing you can do about it. You're going to see right here, horde, and you can hear the noises for the horde coming. So yeah, let me deal with that, and then I'll bring you guys back in. Okay, for demonstration purposes, we are going to open up this warp chest. For some reason, it spawned in the exact same location again. We're going to open it up to show you the types of debuffs you can potentially get without using a toolkit. And show you that the loot is also not always the same. Yeah, this time we got sluggish. That just means that my speed is going to be slowed down. Again, this is this type of intel card. And hopefully when the corruption card goes away for the debuff that we got for opening this without a toolkit. No, it didn't show us. So we got to go in here to cards, and it looks like, again, it gave us health. We found one a little bit earlier in the match, and it gave us stamina. Again, these are completely random as to which type you are going to get, along with the other type that shows you a random card that you can potentially get. The other things we got is the Nurse Purse. This is the med kit that I was talking about that fully restores your health, your trauma, and gives you 3 additional base cards. We are going to go ahead and take that. Then we got the Damnation AA-12 shotgun. I'm not going to be taking this, but as you can see, incendiary rounds burns the targets for 16 damage per second for 3 seconds. Damnation wielder is immune to fire damage. So this is actually a very good shotgun. If we go ahead and grab this, as you can see, we on this particular weapon do not have any type of attachment slot. That is something that I was unaware of as far as any of these legendary weapons. You will notice that it also has its own unique iron sights. And as you can also see with the timer in the right corner, we're about to get another Reeker horde. So let me deal with that and I'll bring you right back. Okay, that's over and done with. Now previously I showed you what would happen with this guy if you use a toolkit on it. No horde was summoned just to prove a point. Let's go ahead and use this without a toolkit. And as you can see in the top right, it says horde. That means a horde was summoned. So there are times where you can use a toolkit to avoid summoning a horde. Most of the time it's not avoidable. But yeah, let me deal with this real quick and I'll bring you right back.
Leftovers.
Okay, this time around we have a toolkit. We can open the stash up, so let's go ahead and jump in here. Typically the loot that is in here is completely and utterly random. You never know what you're actually going to find, and in this case we do not have a weapon cache or a ammo cache. 90% of the time they are going to have this healing station here, and as you can see you get on Nightmare 1 free heal. Meaning that one person, and only one person, can heal absolutely for free by using that. The other thing, we got a green Tech 14. Not one of my favorite weapons, so I tend to avoid those. But yeah, let's continue on, and I'll bring you guys back in a little bit later, and it looks like we got 2 more players that joined. Hopefully I'll be able to get some clips in between fights. Yeah, okay, so here's a good example of what frustrates me with players. This warp chest right here, we have 3 toolkits. Carly actually dropped hers for the legendary toolkit here, but any one of us could have opened this up with a toolkit and not gotten the debuff. Instead, one of the morons on our team decided to open it, so now we have instantly received trauma damage. That may not mean a whole lot on this particular stage because we have health set to 60. It does mean that our health is now collectively lower. All of us have 55 health. So that is one thing that is frustrating. Please don't do that, especially if there's 3 toolkits on the team. Like, there was no reason to open that and give us a debuff. Absolutely none whatsoever. I'm going to continue on with this group and hopefully get a little bit further. I wasn't able to show you the legendary toolkit because, again, Carly, Whammoo on our team has already picked it up. Alright, so we're on to stage 3, I think is where we're at now. And as you can see, we have different corruption cards here along with our different secondary objective, which is to find the blood samples thing throughout the stage. Now, the reason I brought you back in is mostly because of Ravenous. This is probably one of the most annoying corruption cards you can possibly get, as it basically means that you are effectively playing a survival game. In other words, you have to continuously eat. Your hunger does fill up at a certain point, meaning that you can no longer eat any leftovers you find on the map. However, that will slowly degrade over time, meaning that you have to eat again. It does introduce an interesting mechanic of recovering trauma for the amount of time that you stay full. However, you do suffer damage as you get hungry and cannot find food. This is one of those times where having hang or even the food supply scavenger card is absolutely amazing, and again is one of those situational things where you don't know if you're going to get this corruption card or not. It is very, very annoying and probably one of the worst ones out there. As for some of the others, we got Swarmers and we got Crones. These are NPC humanoids that basically shoot fire arrows at the team, causing fire damage, and are quite annoying because they do have the health pool of a mutation. The Festering, again, is just a stronger base form ridden, and these particular, you pretty much have to headshot them in order to kill them, much like armored ridden and mutations. And again, we're just going to pick a random burner card because I don't really have a need for a whole bunch of different things. We're going to go with Hazard Suit this time around. Not really because we have to, just because I feel like burning some cards. I'll bring you guys back in when we get through a little bit more. Alright, like I was saying about the stash stores, on this particular level, this is one of the spots that the stash store can spawn in. Obviously, it is not here. It is in one of the other 2 places, I believe it can be on this level. There is no telling where it is actually going to be. Oh, I am starving. That is what's going on. Let me continue on, and I'll get back to you guys. Okay, so I did have to, unfortunately, use my legendary med kit a little bit early. As you can see, it completely healed up my health and my trauma. And if we go in to look at our cards, you can see that we also got 3 free health cards from using that, as it does imply it on that particular item. So let me continue on and see if we can get through this, because these guys are being very, very reckless. Yeah, okay, so because we got a couple of idiots on this team, we did lose our continue very early on in this act. We're not even through the first portion of it yet, and we've already lost the continue. That is because, like I've been saying, you don't want to summon extra hordes when you cannot, or when you do not have to. Unfortunately, these 2 of these guys are just clueless on that fact, and they have been doing that, along with the fact that somebody, I don't know what they're doing, but they're like purposely taking damage. Um, I don't know how their deck is built. I got a feeling we've got a newbie in this group that doesn't have a clue as to what they're doing. They're probably using a starter deck, and I don't know why this hasn't come back up yet. That's kind of odd. But yeah, it does appear as if we've got a pair of people that don't know what they're doing. They need to watch my videos and kind of see all the details that go into this game and what kind of builds they need to be working with. And if they are brand new, they need to finish the game on recruits so they know what's going on. Again, we did completely lose that playthrough, as people were just doing dumb things. We're not even that far into it. We've already lost the continue. We still have 2, 4, about 6 or 7 more levels to go through. Actually, 7 or 8, because we're not even at the last stage of this portion of it. So yeah, we are going to leave this one, and good luck to those guys. They are completely and utterly stupid. Okay, here we are back on stage 1, and lucky for me, this took 1 try. If you look down the bottom right corner, you will see that we have a vector, and it is green. I did use a burn card to give me a submachine gun, and the thing about the burn cards is it usually does give you a quality level 1 step above what you're currently at as far as gameplay, and we did end up with a green. And as I stated, that you do start off with white weapons. We can demonstrate the difference in stats. First things first, though, we did get 1 attachment. It is a rare quality laser sight. Laser sights are not my favorite thing, but that is what we got. It does have 20% accuracy on it. That is very hard to tell with the build that I have on how good that accuracy is. Also, considering that that is a low percentage, it's not really adding a whole lot. The main difference here is the actual stats of the weapon, and as you can see here, the quality level of it is 8, of the white one is 18 levels below what we currently have. So we go here and look at it. You can see up there in the right corner that this particular vector on a uncommon level with 1 blue attachment is a quality level 23, and that again does matter. And then as far as the stats, you can see that our firepower is 4 above what a white weapon would be. Our accuracy is 20 above what a white weapon would be, and our handling is also 5 levels above what it would be. If we go in here and look again, we can see that the firepower is 72, accuracy is 90, handling is 90, and mobility is 90, compared to the white one, which the white one has 68, so we are down 4 from that. Accuracy is 70, whereas the green one we got is 90. That's probably compounded with the fact that we have a laser sight on it, along with the handling, which is 85 typically of a white weapon, whereas the green one we have a handling of 90. So yes, there is a big difference in the quality levels and the stats. And the stats, again, I cannot reiterate enough, the stats do matter. And the reason I keep bringing this up is I have noticed on both Reddit and other players that I've been in groups with, telling them that, hey, either slow it down or take care of business. They're like, this stuff doesn't matter. And it does make a major difference in the difficulty of the game, especially summoning extra hordes. Like, I cannot reiterate some of these topics enough. You're literally making the game harder than it has to be when you do certain things or you don't pay attention to certain things. Again, I just cannot reiterate that enough. You are making the game harder on yourself, especially if you're a newbie coming into a higher difficulty level. You really need to play through Recruit and unlock all the cards so you can build a proper deck. Okay, we're right back. I was not expecting this. There is actually a green uncommon laser sight inside the chest. And as you can see, the stat that it gives is plus 10% accuracy, whereas the rare one that we have is actually 20%. Again, the quality level and stats do matter. Really unexpected. I was not... These things are so random, I wasn't expecting to see a green one in here so that I could actually compare it to a blue one and so forth. Unfortunately, that's the only thing that we got right now that we can compare. But trust me, when it comes to all these different mods, a higher quality mod is a lot better in terms of some of its stats that it has. Just something to keep in mind and pay attention to as you play. You are going to have your own preferences as to what attachments you have on any given weapon for whatever reason. And the different attachments do give you different stats based on whatever that particular attachment is. Like I said, each one of them is different for each slot. One thing I have not gone over yet because we couldn't do it in the range, they were not accessible there. In fact, let me switch over to the bow real quick, is some of the weapon attachments for melee and bows. Again, for melee and bows, these are the exact same. They may vary slightly in what they say they do, but for the most part, they are the same. For instance, the lead counterweight increases your stumble damage. Again, stumble damage is effectively your ability to stun mutations and bosses. Over on this one, the compact redesign. This one increases your move speed and your sprint speed. This is not something that applies to your character as a whole. Instead, it applies to when you are actively using that weapon. So in this instance, if I equip it to the bow, I only get that bonus as long as it's on the bow. Same goes for the high zoom scope that gives you extra weak damage. This only applies to the weapon that has it equipped. It is not a over everything coverage. So the attachments, you have to be using that weapon to get that bonus, basically. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I have yet to cover. It has been a little bit difficult trying to get into the game and record clips. Like that last one, that group was just really bad at actually playing and dealing with the mechanics of the game. They just did not care. They were rushing through everything, causing all the different types of hazards to trigger. And in fact, in one of the levels that we did out of the first 4, one of our secondary objectives was to avoid hazards, and somebody immediately tripped one, so we didn't get the 500 copper bonus. Copper income is very important, so please pay attention to your secondary objectives. For instance, on this one right now, we have safety first. So we have a grand total of 2 incapacitated, and that is team-wide, that is not per player. So if any 2 players go down, we've failed that secondary objective. And again, avoiding hordes when necessary means that you increase your survivability, and you also increase the likelihood of getting some of these secondary objectives for that extra copper income. So yeah, please keep all this stuff in mind. I do think I've gone over a majority of the things. Some things we did not cover in this video are cars. They work exactly the same as the security doors. The only difference is you do not have to open up a car in order to get through a stage. Sometimes the security doors are in strategic places where you either have to use a toolkit or you have to trigger it. Unfortunately, that is just something you have to deal with. There is no getting around it, and especially if you're dealing with bots. So far, the only thing I've found that the bots will use the toolkit for is the stash room, unfortunately. I cannot get them to use it on security doors. I cannot get them to use it on the warp doors or anything else that would require a toolkit. Seems to be for bots, the only thing you can get them to use a toolkit for is the security door. As far as some of the extra items that you have to collect in a given stage, unfortunately we don't have a corruption card for that. The tool bag, which gives you extra unlocks if you manage to find and bring to the end, you can make the bots pick that up. You can make the bots pick up toolkits and defibrillators. As far as grenades and pipe bombs, I think they automatically pick it up if you do not. I haven't been able to confirm that because it seems quite random, and you don't have to ping those, unlike the toolkit and the defibrillator where you do have to ping them. Same goes for the healing stations. You do have to ping it in order for the bots to use it, and it will heal them for a standard amount, and it'll only do it once per first aid cabinet. And typically it'll cycle through all the bots, so you only have to ping it once. For other players, please keep in mind the other people's health, because on recruit there are 4 charges per healing cabinet, first aid cabinet. On Veteran, there are only 2 charges. On Nightmare, there's only 1 charge. And once the charges are used up, it's 400 copper per use. That's quite a bit. And while I'm thinking of it, the other thing we didn't talk about is unbolting your attachments. This can only be done inside the safe room before the door is opened. I have seen way too many players come in and immediately open the door and just get to work. That can potentially screw up other players for a couple of reasons. One, that blocks off the ability to unbolt your attachments, which honestly I don't know why you would in most cases. There is a very rare chance that you will find a different weapon here or a higher quality weapon, and unbolting your attachments and then swapping them over to the higher quality weapon is something that you can do. It is very costly, and there is a card that you can put in your deck that decreases that cost. It only decreases it by 100, however, it is cumulative between the teams. So if all 4 people are playing this, unbolting your attachments only costs 100 copper. And that's per weapon. That's not 500 copper period, that is per weapon. So if I wanted to unbolt the attachments from this, it cost me 500. If I then wanted to also unbolt my bow, which you know, at the moment because we're starting a fresh game. I don't have any attachments. It would again cost me another 500 copper. Again, this is so costly that I don't see why you would. I have done it once, and only once. That is because when we got to a later stage in it, one of the random weapons here was the same weapon I was using, only I was using a green, which is uncommon, and the weapon that spawned in here was a epic level weapon. So I did unbolt, buy the weapon, switch out my attachments. That way I had all the attachments that I like on this higher quality weapon, which then meant that I'm doing more damage, had more accuracy, and more handling, and yada yada yada, all those stats. The other thing about opening the door, I don't know if I managed to cover in some of the others, is that once you open the door, the shop is on a timer. I don't know exactly how long that timer is off the top of my head, but once this door is open, the shop will close eventually, and nobody will be able to access it. So make sure your entire team is done using the shop before you open the door. The other thing about the door, if we just go up here and look, is there's always going to be ridden on the other side of the door. Now, until this door is open, they will continuously spawn. There will be no end to the ridden. You will stand here and waste all of your ammo trying to kill them off thinking you're clearing the area. It doesn't work like that. They just continuously spawn. And in fact, even after you open the door, they continuously spawn. The spawn rate is dependent on difficulty. So on Recruit, it's not going to be that often that they spawn. And on Nightmare, they are going to spawn quite often. And this is also any of the sections that you have previously cleared. They are going to reappear there. The reason I bring this up is that's one of the key points on ammo conservation is don't stand here at the door and continuously fire your weapon unless you have something like the bow that has infinite ammo, or you have the stash card that gives you infinite ammo for your pistol. Sitting here just trying to kill all the ridden is absolutely pointless because they will just continuously spawn. One thing I will say about the bow is trying to fire through this is kind of hit or miss. At certain angles it will fire through just fine, and as you can see here, the arrow is bouncing off the door. So the hitbox of the door is quite annoying because you can see that I am clearly not hitting that bar, but the arrow thinks that I am. And it doesn't even matter how hard I try. Bullets are a little bit different, because as you can see, they will go through there just quite fine. Arrows, on the other hand, not so good. As far as the melee weapons, unfortunately the melee weapons will not go through the door. And actually, I might be able to demonstrate this, but as I say, the ridden will continuously spawn out there. However, it also depends on the stage how frequently that is. So, right now I wouldn't be able to demonstrate that the the melee weapons will not, in fact, reach anybody out there. In fact, if I fire off a few shots, maybe I can attract some. Yeah, we got a few coming. So they are attacking the door. Let's go down here because the bat did spawn. Just show you that. Well, yeah, that shouldn't work like that. That's probably due to Talia's ability of causing bleed damage when she hits something, but technically I shouldn't be able to kill anything with a melee weapon through the door. Yeah, that is very unusual. I've never seen it actually do that. Again, that has to be due to the way her ability works. That it does allow you to actually succeed at killing stuff with a melee weapon through a door. That's really weird. But yeah, I think that's everything I could possibly cover. I hope this really helps you guys out as you begin playing Back 4 Blood. Now, there may be other things that I might have missed. If I did miss something that you are aware of, leave a comment down below, and I will answer any questions that you guys have. I hope you've enjoyed this little series, and maybe one day I will see you in game. Who knows? That could very well happen, especially if the game continues on and either gets more DLC or they make a sequel. There's no telling. We have no idea as gamers if our favorite games are going to get sequels or more DLC. So, yeah, you guys take care. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.